Welcome to What Resonates. This podcast is about tuning into energy, intuition, and what feels true for you. Each conversation invites you to notice what sparks curiosity and feels aligned, opening a wider field of possibility for yourself and for humanity. Keep tuning in and follow What Resonates. Hi there, it's Andrea. And in addition to my online live Reiki classes, I've added some in-person options that I want to tell you about. In April, I'll be teaching in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and this June in the United Kingdom. Head over to my website and find out why these in-person classes are special. An expanded format in Reiki 1 and 2 you're not going to want to miss. There's a banner at the top of the webpage for you to make it easy. Just click on over to mainstreamreiki.com. It's Andrea, and it's time to find out what resonates. And today I have back Tera McAmis. You might remember her from back in the day. She is returning, and we have a pretty special episode for you. To refresh your memory, or if Tera is new to you, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an intuitive quantum energy practitioner and teacher. She works with people who are awakening spiritually to recall their origins and natural energy skills. Tera follows energy lines through the body, thought patterns, emotional wounds, alternate dimensions, and past lives. She empowers through both her energy work and education, so we may learn to manage our personal energy system as we integrate the higher frequencies of the new Earth reality. Woo, Ascension. How about that? So welcome, Tera. It's wonderful to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back, Andrea. It's an exciting time. So.
It is.
Yeah.
These times are just amazing. And, you know, I mentioned this is a bit of a special episode. I personally had some things happen with this fire horse, year of the fire horse coming, and we had a solar eclipse and we had a new moon all on the same day. And that kind of thing doesn't affect me. You know, I hear other people and they say the energy affected them of, you know, the moon cycle or an eclipse or something like that. And I just quite honestly felt a little bit like left out. Like, I wonder what all that's about. Well, I found out because this day, it was February 17th, it really threw me for a loop. And I started hearing from members of my community, other people on social media, people who've been working with energy for many years say the same thing. These kinds of things didn't affect them. And this, wow. And I thought, what is going on? And if I'm feeling this and all these people are feeling this, what's to come? And maybe it's a wake-up call to learn more and, you know, not just buckle up, but get prepared, learn, and become better equipped for what's coming. Because a lot of us know that there's this big shift happening in human consciousness and all of that. But for me, it really took on a whole nother dimension. Pardon the pun or whatever that is about that. But anyway, I reached out to you because you know so much about this kind of thing, and you know, like behind the curtain, what's happening with these events and what is affecting us energetically. And we are meeting, and I just want to tell the audience, we're actually recording Friday, this 27th of February. And the episode's supposed to come out, if all things happen according to plan, March 11th. And so I think it's important. We don't usually give the context of the timing to the audience, but I think it's important because we're going to be talking about what has happened. But of course, it's the 27th of February, and then what's to come. And I just think it's supportive of the audience to know, you know, when we're meeting and put that into context. But what the heck just happened, Tera?
What didn't happen is maybe an easier question. I know. I agree. I felt, I don't usually feel a lot of the moon and stuff either, just because I'm already just kind of there. And it kind of flow by it. But this last round of shifts was big and multiple levels, but some key, more core levels, I would say. And so, in general, we have moved into a whole new phase of this conscious ascension, collective ascension, however we want to look at it, individual evolution too. And it's kind of a culmination of all the things that have been happening over the years. I mean, build up over several hundred, but from where we're talking today, since COVID, really, that really gave us a big push in consciousness. People were forced to slow down and step off the hamster wheel and find themselves, like it or not. And so many took that opportunity, started shifting, and it's built this momentum and you put it with our solar maximum and our other shifts in the planets and our own Earth evolution. It's culminated into kind of, I don't want to say a bubbling point because it's not bad, but in a sense it is. It's rising up into a whole new form, just as when we do boil, water turns to gas, it turns to a higher, lighter frequency, and that's where we're heading. And so when when the sun set off a few weeks back, some super, super flares out of the blue, and there were like 5x flares in 24 hours. And that was just before the eclipse season started. And so that just infused the earth and all of us earthlings with so much energy. And we're already kind of at this like simmering point of change. It really accelerated the eclipses. And, eclipses force alignment into a higher-ness. So we all went whoosh. You almost have to do it with sound effects because there's no other way to really get it across. And that's what it felt like. And the fire horse, think fire horse, fire running at that speed and that power of a beautiful horse running is, that's where we've taken off. We have taken off to a whole new level of speed and intensity. And a big part of that, and like I mentioned, the core part underneath that is this is all happening at our more core frequency, our energy systems. And we've been practicing. I know most of your audience, if you're your audience, my community, all of our communities have been really working to deepen our understanding and connection with our energy system. And this kind of took it to a whole new level. And just as a lot of us are getting kind of settled in that like new frequency, we got thrust up into, or new ones thrust into us to integrate. And that was a lot of that physical, discomfort and kind of, yeah.
So I have a couple of questions though.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. I'm trying to figure out
so much.
I'm trying to figure out what order, but okay. So let me take this one first. So solar flares.
Mm-hmm.
How is that affecting us? I mean, I remember like when I was little, when I was in my little science class in school, and we learned about the sun, and we learned, that there there are many different it's a very active star, and there's energy, and I'm going to say bubbling up and, ejecting and things like that. And we can see video, we can see things happen with the sun, and it is very powerful. It's in motion, and I know it does eject energy. But what in the world does that have to do with me on Earth in my daily life? I mean, can you bring this? I mean, we're talking about energy systems and frequencies, but what does it mean to an average person on the planet?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fascinating kind of newer study in science. They're getting more and more research under it, but we know the sun emits energy. It's protons, it's radiation, it's all that fun stuff. And it's so when we receive it, it can it can raise our heart rate, our blood pressure. It creates an exhaustion because our bodies are working overtime. It can overstimulate things like the nervous system and our anxiety. A lot of fight or flight will feel because it's like, think of the pressure in an airplane. When you go up, you can feel that, and it kind of, ooh, it's a lot like that. It's this extra kind of pressure, intensity on our systems. And then they're doing a lot of great studies around it too. Pilots, and there's actually at times the radiation can be, if we have a strong radiation storm, they advise not flying over the poles, because the sun gets filtered with our electromagnetic field up to the poles and then dispersed back around. So there's a lot of, like getting too many x-rays, you know, how they don't advise that in the medical community, similar to that for folks who fly a lot. And also that energy coming at us can distort our GPSs. So mixes up our signals, where we're going, what we're doing, and think we have our circadian rhythms. We have GPS in our system, you know, our own style. It messes with that. That's why our sleep gets off a lot, because it messes
Oh,
up that signal, those rhythms.
yeah. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that you brought in sleep.
Yeah.
You mentioned anxiety. Did you say heart rate or blood
Heart
pressure?
rate and blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure both can be affected. Mm-hmm.
Mm. And anything else come to
Yeah.
mind?
Oh, so many things. I find for me, I get my equilibrium's off a lot of times. I'll
Oh,
feel if it's really strong, it kind of get a wobble, kind of trying to just find my balance again at times.
oh, so a little dizzy.
A little dizzy, yeah.
I did hear that from
Yeah,
a couple of people that I
very
talked to.
common.
Dizziness. I just was
Mm-hmm.
so exhausted
Exhausted.
leading up to that, and I actually thought I was getting
Mm-hmm.
sick.
Yes.
And I had a little bit of I felt like my lymph node
Mm-hmm.
on one side of my neck, you know, just under my jaw. I felt like that was swollen. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like I was sick, but it was just a little something.
Mm-hmm.
And it would come and go for a few
Yeah.
days. And I thought, what on earth is happening? And then once Tuesday came, once all of those events happened,
Mm-hmm.
the next day I could tell a difference. I just felt better.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people had said, that they really started recovering after
Yes.
that.
Absolutely. And a lot of that was because we had the eclipse, right? And it was a solar eclipse near, well, they call it the ring of fire. It's like you know, so we could see the ring of fire on it, but it was still like a total eclipse, the
Mhm.
perfect alignment with the moon and the earth. And with that perfect alignment, um, also causes a lot of shifts in tides, our moon tide, our water tides that go with the moon. There's extra shifting, of which we're 70% water. So dehydration, that's going to cause exhaustion too. And that sense of being ill was really a lot of detoxing, because if you think of alignment, we're putting all these things in alignment, then everything that doesn't fit gets squished out. And so we're clearing out what's no longer fitting us. And it can, a lot of this at this moment was physical, very physical shifts.
Oh,
So our physical bodies can evolve up to where our consciousness is and handle these higher frequencies, upgrading our operating systems, you could say.
right. And isn't that so that we can embody more of the light that we already are?
Yes,
Yes.
that's exactly it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me too, all of these synchronicities,
Mm-hmm.
because I channeled a message. I every month I put a channeled message in my newsletter, and it comes
Mm-hmm.
out the very early in the month. And so I have to channel it ahead of time, you know, in order to
Mm-hmm.
get it in the newsletter and record the audio and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what the theme for February was it? No, I'm sorry. The theme for March upcoming
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
integration. And so the whole
Nice.
message is about integration. And they actually mention in the channeling about we're undergoing
Mm-hmm.
physical changes in our bodies, that, and they said something like this. They said, um, we're the first humans that we will, it will be able to be measured. It
Mm-hmm.
will be a measurable physical evolution of humans, of these
Yes.
changes that we're undergoing. And the emissaries of light who I channeled, they never really talk like that. So I was like, wow, that is interesting. But then we had the whole fire horse thing because I channeled this before all of these
Mm-hmm.
events. And so then this is coming up and it's amazing. Um, and so what about, we're talking about solar and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll let us move on here in a second, but it's
Sure.
really the geek in me. But um, so if the sun is ejecting a lot, um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of different ways we could go with this. But one of the ways we might know that this is happening, correct
Mm-hmm.
me if I'm wrong here, is the aurora borealis, the lights
Yes.
in the sky. Is that
Mm-hmm.
true?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're
Sure.
seeing
Yeah.
that, where that is confirmation that there's more solar activity, more particles that we are
Yeah.
dealing with.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up. And what we're seeing these days is the aurora borealis is not supposed to come down so far south, and it is coming down and even crossing the equator from the north, and then the southern aurora borealis, I think it's the same, is coming up. And so that is a huge affirmation that we are receiving more higher frequency light, higher frequency energies, frequencies, rhythms, compounds of it than we have before. And we are at the max of this. We believe we're at the max of the solar cycle. It should wane. However, it hasn't really started waning. And the other piece of that is our electromagnetic field is shifting and allowing more of that in. And so, yes, sun is stronger, brighter, faster, just more active all around right now. And it'll calm down, but it has been changing our electromagnetic field, those outer atmospheres, the stratosphere. And so we are receiving more of that energy. And that is prompting evolution on life, our evolution on Earth, excuse me, at a rate we've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I do believe. When I think your emissary is a lighter, spot on. It's what I hear too from my guide and my teams and the council, that we are in a place now that we will get to, because we've also developed the science and the technology
Mm-hmm.
to rate, to assess, to track these things.
Mm-hmm.
um we're getting to the end where our consciousness is an awareness that we can see the possibility of it, and so we can put all that together. We get to see evolution not only speeding up, happening and speeding up and changing within ourselves and our entire planet. And that is a magical time. um uh, from every angle, if you ask me. Who knows
Yeah.
how it's going, but it's cool to watch.
Yeah, it is. And so I have to
Yeah.
I have to do my due
So,
diligence then and ask the
hmm,
question, with all
sure.
of this activity, is there a harm here? Do we have anything to be worried about with all of this energy?
Hmm. From some standpoints, sure. I mean, we do need to be more thoughtful um, about so much solar energy coming in at time. Although I said, like it said, it will shift, and what it does is it seeps into the earth, and it does trigger change on the planet. It triggers volcanic and earthquake and all of those types of things. But I think instead of looking at it as danger, I think it's more important to look at it in the whole of the evolution, and that this is happening. It's not a bad thing. It's part of the life cycle, birth, life, death of all things. And so it's changing, and it will be changing. And so I think if we can reframe the narrative, we can embrace it and work with it
Yeah.
and enjoy it. So,
Well, I definitely want to talk about that. So
mhm.
with
Yeah.
with everything that just happened, so many people feeling that,
Hmm.
where do you think we're going then from here? I know we're in an eclipse season. I'm not into all of the astrology. I think it's quite fascinating, but there's so much to look at and so much to give my focus to that unfortunately that's something I just I just don't do, but I'm
Yeah.
super curious. So where are we with the, I don't know, cosmic
Yeah. All
happenings,
this. Sure.
and what do we need to keep in
Mhm.
mind or do? I don't know. What can you tell us?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you said that first, Andrea. I think it's important that I think sometimes people feel like they've got to know all of it and keep track of all these things. And oh, I don't do that. I should do astrology. No, we all need to do what we're called to because we each have a different role here. We have our own unique path, and I think it's important to always explore out, and which your show does beautifully. So we know you are all looking at everything, but I think it's important to feel what resonates with us and follow it. I'm not a big astrology person either, but what I have found for me is it's the sun, the moon, and the earth. And then Mercury, because by golly, she's so darn fast. She really kind of whips up the wind around us, 3 times a year. So, and it often falls with the eclipse. So, but I do find our bigger cycle of life is part of is part of the sun, the moon, and the earth's dance together. And that's what keeps our life on earth happening, of an opportunity to be here in the third dimension. And so where we're at now is a really pivotal point. The eclipses have the first eclipses passed, and that was a big old solar eclipse, full moon. I mean, it was huge, and as we talked about, and now that kind of, like I said, squeezed all the stuff we don't need out and showed us what we do need and where we should focus. And I think that's a really where we want to be now is if we need to release. I think everyone needs to stop and where am I at? Not where should I be, but where am I? And clear out the last of that stuff. And then where are you? What new healthier patterns are you building in your life? Because this point here, we get to work with this beautiful alignment, and then the alignment coming on the 3rd of March, the total lunar eclipse at the new moon, and that's a very, very introspective, pull ourselves in and align and work with our new higher frequencies and rhythms, which in everyday life, what are those daily habits and patterns and perspectives of life that you've been working to upgrade? Maybe it's self-talk, maybe it's self-expression. What are the really use this alignment to build that pattern stronger? Because just a few days after that eclipse, Mercury goes direct. That's our communication, expression, relationship, stuff. Well, interaction of relationships, I should say. We have the eclipse or the equinox, and the equinox is where the entire planet balances, right? If it comes into an equilibrium, and that is a huge and powerful piece. And we have no retrogrades, so it is full steam ahead with this fire horse year. And so we're going to be moving so fast with our natural cosmic energies or our solar energies that if you don't have those new patterns in place, you're going to feel like you were just thrown in the dryer, on high speed, like, wah! It's going to be a mess. But if you are doing your work, you get to enjoy the support of building even further in your year and in your reality.
So I have to ask, what's the
Mhm.
work? What's the work? What are we supposed to do? You know? Uh, and I think that's a great question because I can just hear the audience right now. They've got their notebooks like, what am I supposed to do then? Um,
Yeah.
but let me backtrack just a second. And that was, you said all the yucky came out.
Mhm.
What are some examples? Because again, you
Mhm.
know, I get, we get it on some level, but in reality, what is that? Is that like a person might have to face that they're numbing themselves with alcohol or
Mhm.
food, or in an unhealthy relationship that they really need
Mhm.
to get out of? I mean, is that what we're talking
Yes.
about? And can you add some other examples maybe?
Yes, those are great examples too, because this is, as we know, the last few years we've been doing what we call the shadow work a lot, or that inner work. And a lot of people have peeled a lot back. This is the place where we've come back to the core, to your pure authentic. Nothing else gets to hide in the closet. So, yeah, really taking a hard look at what is our truth we're living right now, and how do we align that with our authentic higher self. So are we numbing? Are we numbing with food? Are we avoiding those relationships that we really need to close and let go of? Because are we still giving the benefit of the doubt to someone who's not doing their work? That's a big one I see a lot. And yes, I've been guilty of it too. Us light workers, we see the potential in people and we often keep giving that. And we need to acknowledge not everyone is coming along our path. Some of them need to stay and repeat that grade or repeat that, whatever they choose. That's their path, and really honor that. I think that's where a lot of this comes from. Recognizing too different things about our physical health. Are we really aligning with what our bodies need at the moment, or are we going on what others have told us? And I think another big one I've been seeing a lot is a lot of us, when we started our spiritual journeys, are kind of waking up to all of this. We found some things that really were bright white lights to us. Oh my gosh, these crystals really do this, or oils, or this practice, or this belief system, and whatever it may be. And they were there. I don't discount any of it. I think it's all beautiful. But we really grabbed a path or a way, and we didn't expand upon that. And that is one of the big things I'm seeing here is we've got to go a little deeper in our spiritual path. We have to expand it. It's a lot like growing up, and you learn you should always share, you should always be kind, you should always do these things. But that's not really true always. Sometimes I need to say no and not share. And as we mature emotionally, psychologically, we start understanding a more expanded definition of those terms and how to be. And I think it's the same in the spiritual world. And so I'm seeing a lot of people needing to, or striving to, they're looking to, and they don't quite know where to go, but expanding and maturing their spiritual beliefs and concepts. And one of the biggest parts of that is the actual physical energy we're working with. And I say physical because it is at some level, there's a frequency, there's a tone, there's a rhythm to quantum energy or to our spiritual ethereal energies. We haven't quite identified them yet in science, but they are there. And I think it's recognizing that within our system and bringing that responsibility back is the underlying theme of it all right now, is taking full responsibility of our own health in all areas of our life and our own growth and ascension. So that was a lot there. How's that?
Yeah, that was great. No, that was really great. Yeah, and a lot was pinging for me, as I was listening to you. And yeah, it's kind of like the age of total, taking the wheel.
Yeah.
Right? And saying, you know what? I meant to change this 20 years ago. Where am I on that? Yep, still not done it. It's kind of like time to be accountable, time to be responsible. It's like playtime's over.
It is.
If you want to go on the trip, you got to, pack your suitcase accordingly, I think. Yeah. And so it is quite interesting, this whole conversation. And so it's self-trust, it's discernment, it's accountability, it's being awake to observe how you move through your day, why you say what you say, why you react, or maybe you're responding, which would be even better. But so much. All right. All right. And so you mentioned Mercury retrograde. You mentioned this next eclipse. And that's the worm moon, right? It's the full moon on the 3rd. And I think they call it the worm moon.
It's the worm moon, yeah.
Does that have any significance, that name?
I believe it's a farming term.
Oh, right. The Farmer's Almanac, right? Yes, yes. So. Yeah. Good old Farmer's Almanac. Okay. Right. So that's going to be on the 3rd. And then what do we have to look forward to? Now we have the fire horse. And is it that energy that's going to help us make these hard changes, like change the relationship, change the behaviors? Is that how it, because how does the fire horse really, impact us? I mean, I get that it's
Yeah.
about courage, it's about strength, and it's coming fast. But again, I just keep
Yes.
bringing us back. So I
Hmm.
apologize for like real world. What does that mean?
Yeah, I know it's hard because a lot of these thoughts are so abstract and theoretical feeling when we're talking about them, but they all are very real, practical application. And as I think that is important, and I think that's kind of one of the themes we're moving into in this I call it the third phase of the Earth Ascension Project. It's my own little kind of is both responsibility and individuality, like you said, taking accountability. And with that also is um, recognizing the practical implications. Spirituality should be practical. It should be lived in our lives. It's not just a thing we go sit and pray and meditate and ask our crystals and our angels to do things. It's go out and be what you believe and own that and embody that system. And that's that energy frequency that I always refer to. What are we resonating out that we bring back? Not just what we sit with our vision boards, and intend, but we got to take action. And that's the fire horse. The fire horse takes action. We've also a couple of planets, Jupiter and somebody else, moved into 1 degree of Aries. Aries is the beginning. This is new. If you do numerology, this is a beginning year, a 1 year, I believe. I don't do any of that stuff either, but all of those things all come back. I always look at the golden thread through them, and they all are pointing towards this point in time with the alignment of our planetary energies and our advancement and our collective ascension to go do. What are you and showing up? And that means, yeah, making the hard choices. And you said, do they help us? Well, they're helping us if we're doing our work. If not, they're going to force us because the energy is there. The momentum behind it is there. We've created that momentum. We're a key component in that because of our consciousness. We intend, we direct, we create. And so if we take and embrace the fire horse, the speed and the intensity, and we embrace the accountability and the communication opportunity Mercury and the eclipses offers us, man, what can we not do with our lives? But we got to make the choices and we have to take the action and say, I love you, but our paths don't align and our relationship is not healthy for me any longer. I really enjoy numbing out on binge watching my Netflix and eating a bag of chips, but that is not promoting a better life for me. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to go out. I'm going to do. And if I don't know what to do, I'm going to look and discover and be my own advocate to find what I need to do. And I think that is the energy of now and moving forward. And or you're going to be crash court, things are going to be crashing into you and those relationships are going to break up. You're going to end up with, a health disease or issue from numbing or whatnot. So, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
you know what it's making me think of? Maybe we've all heard this, right? It's like the universal whisper to you, and then
Mm-hmm.
it gets louder and louder,
Mm-hmm.
and then, then it starts to really rattle you and until it just beats you over the head, right? It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you're gonna have to get with it one way or another,
Yep.
but you can enter it
Yep.
in, go on your
Yeah.
terms and
Or,
be
mm-hmm.
awake, right? Or
Yes.
another way. Huh.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned the Earth Ascension Project, and this is a big part of your work,
It
right?
is. It's huge.
Um, if you could describe that for us, tell us about it
Sure.
briefly. You said we're in which
Mm-hmm.
part of it?
I say phase 3, the
Ah,
third
ooh,
phase.
out of how many?
Well, that just depends on how far we want to go with it. At this point, we get to create. So
Oh,
hopefully many more. But I identified it as the third from having two before this that I see and
got
I
it.
remember. So I
Hmm.
don't know where we take it. But yeah, I call it the Earth Ascension Project. And this is a little bit equivalent to, the Aquarian era. I think it's all of that. I tried to embody all of it and make sense of it. For me, deduction is very helpful, but also I have so many past life memories, feelings, and knowledge, and work with the guides and the council, and they get more. I had to put it all together. and understand what is the point of all of this. And what I know it to be is the third dimension, where we're at now with our time and space and physicality, is something that we have been working to achieve individual consciousness in for a very long time, pre-Earth. I have memories from Mars, even, and others, which we won't go into all that. But people talk about Lemuria, Atlantis. All of those were kind of restarts of this first, where in this fits just right with evolution. We started realizing we could be separate of the collective, right? We're not just a pack mentality, and that's what we've been shifting through for these millennials. So from there, we started realizing, well, hey, you and I, we're similar, we're different, but we need each other still. So we still have a hierarchy pack mentality, right? So we can survive the elements. But we start reckoning, and wait a minute, I can manipulate my environment on my own. What if I take this stone and I do this? It evolves into civilization, right? And we end up farming, doing these things, and we become more and more individualistic. And that is where, but we're just becoming conscious of that individualism. And then what we've done now, that was the second phase, or the first phase. The second phase is where we really develop society. And it's not a hard stop beginner, it's very layered. But now the second phase, these last several thousand years, we have mastered Earth. We are mastering the third dimension. We can manipulate it in ways we've never understood. We also are learning to think and take accountability for our own selves and become less reliant on the collective. But the beauty of that is, and this is the third phase, we are not as reliant on the collective, but we are more responsible too, building the collective. And so we are now learning to be individual thinkers, beings, entities, while joining the collective. And that's that coming together so many talk about of the fifth dimension, and it all comes together. We're not leaving polarity. We're going to stay here. We're going to have polar opposites because we're in the third dimension too. The fifth just means we're adding more dimensions to it. We're expanding. And we're learning how to work within each other and still maintain individuality. So there it is in a nutshell. Where we go with that, That's up to us.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you too about are there other influences? We talked a lot about the sun and the moon and the earth and that dance. I think you referred to it. Are we being influenced by other energies that deserve a little airtime?
Absolutely. First we have the basics of the duals of consciousness here, and not everybody wants to ascend. Some people really like being, overly empowered or having no responsibility and being taken care of. That's a big paradigm that we're shifting out of, because we've had it since before we had consciousness here, right? So it's really ingrained in our DNA. And I think that's an important thing to note, working that through. And that's where we're seeing the dismantling, right? Then we have, of course, all of the mini ethereals. They're here assisting us too. And they come in form and not, that's our angels, our guides, all those fun people. But it's up to us to really do the work. But they're here guiding, helping to influence and recognize. And then we get into the ETs, if you will, or the aliens, we can call them. And, I always laugh when people are like, there is a UFO, they're going to show it. And I'm like, they've been here forever. And of course, we are the greatest show in the entire cosmos right now. Holy cow, these light beings are creating individual consciousness successfully in the third dimension and recognizing that they are beyond the third. We are now, that our consciousness expanded. Who isn't watching and checking and trying to influence? So we've got a lot there. And I think it's important to note some of them are here purely observing. like science experiment. Just watch and see, like Girls in the Mist. They're watching us, Others are like, our star's dying. We're going to need some energy. And they're generating a whole lot of energy. What can we do with this? And then others think, hey, there's an opportunity to take this sucker over because they still live in their old paradigm of their own planet or galaxy. But I think a big piece of that is to recognize we too, in some respects, are ET. We too are star beings. We too came from somewhere else at some point. Most of us, not all of us. Some of us truly did evolve our consciousness from human form on Earth. But, it's nothing to be scared of. It's just to be recognized and be like, yeah, there's plenty of influence out there. Yeah.
Well, isn't it just kind of like walking down a street in a big city?
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
it's all kinds of stuff, and we don't necessarily walk down the street all afraid of every little thing.
No,
I
not
do
at all.
find that though, so many people there's a lot of fear about energies and entities and things like that. And why do you think that is? I mean, if we have such similar motives here on the planet with people, what do you think? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that topic?
I think, oh yes, but that might be a whole nother show. So try and keep it here.
Yeah.
Fear. First, I think sometimes fear gets a bad rap, and we fear even. It has an intention, and when we put it back in its place of it's here to keep us safe. It's that red flag warning. It's that primitive autonomic nervous system fight or flight mechanism that says, hey, pay attention. But once we start to understand that and we learn to manage it, it's not going off all the time. And so I think some people get stuck there and don't realize that is turned on. When there's a lot of talk about regulating the autonomic nervous system these days, very, very important, key factor in your own ascension for sure. So I think it's just kind of there at that primitive DNA genetic coding level. And there's so much unknown. Our survival brain is trained to make sense of it. And so we peg it wherever we can so that we have some sense of control or understanding. So we're trying to lessen our own fear. And I think a lot of times we don't realize we get caught in the fear mongering cycle and trying to subdue our fear and feel safe. We actually are making it worse. And then we lack understanding. I will say what I see, and I think this is changing in many ways, but there's still some folks that aren't getting it or aren't there yet, as people saying, I know what this is. And then they shout out what's happening and how to be. And there's a lot of fear in that. If you don't do this, you'll get that. If you don't do, and people get so sucked into that, they don't think for themselves. And if they step back and look and did some discerning, right, and took accountability for their own well-being, they'd realize that's not important. That's not helping me. And that's part of that old paradigm of being followed instead of leading yourself. So,
right.
Following,
being a follower.
Being a follower.
Yeah, that is interesting. What are your thoughts on AI right now?
Another show? I'm just kidding.
Okay, we need the condensed version.
Right.
Yes.
It's a big one. I have some mixed feelings around it, to be really, really frank. I think in some ways it's fascinating and it's exciting and it's technology and it can be unplugged. We think, right? I don't know. I've never tried. But I think there's a part there that it's showing us what possibilities are. And I think that's fascinating. I mean, technology in general is opening up worlds of frequencies and understandings that we we haven't gotten to yet. So it's helping merge the science and the spiritual. But I think there's a real danger in it also for people who are looking for someone else to solve their problems, looking externally for solution, especially if that's companionship or guidance. because they don't realize that is just complex algorithms. It's not consciousness. It can't be consciousness. Although I will say, not just AI, but through the internet, because it is a network of energies, consciousness and frequencies can run through that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, we see lots of people doing energy work through via Zoom. I mean, you're running energy through. Um, so I think that's to be thought about and recognized when we use it. Um, so I don't think it'll become its own being. No.
Yeah, I think it. I agree with you. It's so fascinating because it can be so intelligent, and then it can be so deceitful.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and it can just make stuff up that isn't even true.
Right.
But it presents it as, you know, an answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. But isn't it interesting because it's every turn, at every turn, there is an invitation for boundaries, for discernment, for deciding, really deciding. How much of this, because it seems like there, in a lot of ways, doesn't it seem like the rule book's gone? You know, like you have total free reign. A human has such free reign about what they'll focus on. And to me, I think, I don't know, what is your thought about this? It's like that's the big war right now, is our focus. Because isn't that our energy? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I think it is the big war for sure. And it's in that sense, like you said, our focus is our energy. I mean, what we focus on, that is where our energy is flowing. And in this hyper fast, intense energy world, it has even more speed to get where it is. There's no lag time anymore. And I kind of miss that lag time where you'd be like, oh, I'm going to envision a new job. What do I want? You sit and you kind of think, and it starts coming, you get some choices. And just like now it's like, if you don't have it nailed, you're going to end up with a job and not really, wait a minute, did I ask for this? You know?
Yeah.
Because of the speed and the intensity of the energy. So I do see a lot of this, especially, I would say, internet and social media, but that's where most of our world is jostling for our focus, for our intention, for our energy. And I think there's a real danger point in that, because we've gotten so good at understanding the psychology and the emotional manipulation, if you will, of humans, that we can be pulled in so many ways. We're not making our choices any longer, and we don't know that. And that could be for good or for bad. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, whether it's a positive, healthy thing or not, it's not good because you're not making the choice. And that's a lot of where we're moving to now. That's that old paradigm too. That old paradigm of the patriarchal or matriarchal hierarchy of control and dominance, and then we follow. We trust. Oh, I just trust and follow them. Oh, what they say, and that's what we came out of. That's why we see so many changes in government and religion and all of those other big institutions, because that paradigm doesn't work today. But what it has done is it's become infused within the internet and our social media. And it's so, we say we're breaking away from that, but we don't realize we are subconsciously being redirected. And so,
Yeah. And isn't it true too that you mentioned earlier this focus on the individual, you know, how the individual consciousness, the individual, but isn't it also true that when we gather, there is big power in that? When real people get together in communities. And my new term that I've been using lately is like-hearted. I used to always say like-minded, but now it's like-hearted. And I know, like, in the community that I host, the people all have that common thread They are the most beautiful people ever. And that just makes that community beautiful to engage in. And we know we're all real people. We know when we post something or we say something to each other or we show up at an event, it's us.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize the value of that when I started it. But wow, now with AI everywhere, and I'll watch a video and it turns out it's all fake.
I know. Yeah.
And that to me is a bit scary because while I'm saying all of these beautiful things, you can have a community centered around anything.
Anything. Yeah.
And they'll, then you have that vibe, right? But the power of people, their focus, their ability to just be authentic and show up together. Wow, there's so much power in that. I think we're seeing that in so many different places, right?
I agree. Yes, we are. Beautiful places. And I think the real magic behind it is that it is authentic. And it's authentic because each of the people in the community are pulling their own power back to themselves, and they are taking responsibility of it, and they are embodying their authenticity, and they are owning their lives. And so when you have all these strong, beautiful pillars that come together, it just the synergy of it, the illuminating synergy of it is magic, and it's beautiful. And I say magic, although it's, really, you can see actually what's happening. And you can't have a community around anything. But what we're finding today is we don't want a community around someone else's belief system or someone else's rules and governance or someone else's thing. This is what you have. It's conditional. What you're building and I'm building and others are building out there is not conditional. It's about authenticity, and it's about owning your authenticity and respecting each other's in an equal, balanced way. And I think that, that is happening in so many pockets all over the planet. And they're slowly coming together, I feel like. And that is truly that new Earth energy grid. We are building the new paradigms of this third phase of this new reality on Earth is the authenticity of the collective, because the individual is showing up fully themselves and taking responsibility. And I think that's just such a cool piece,
And the fact that we have technology. And you mentioned COVID, right? Early on in the episode. And because everybody learned what Zoom was, with that. But that to me was this ability to connect, because I'm in Michigan right now. You're in Oklahoma, right?
Yep.
We wouldn't be doing this. What would we do? On a phone call or something? I mean, but there are so many shows like this out there. Again, you talk about focus. There's so many choices, but all of this is possible because of the technology. And just thinking back to 100 years ago, it's like, oh, let me write you a letter, Tara, and then I'll send it through the postal service, and maybe you'll get it in 3 weeks, and we'll be pen pals and go back like that versus this. I mean, and then what we'll do with this recording afterwards to share it, it just boggles the mind, doesn't it?
It does. It's incredible. I was thinking back the other day to pre-COVID doing my work, and the complications. I actually had people. And so I had clients on the phone. I still was doing a lot of in-persons where I had to start because there wasn't. I do my sessions remotely on the phone, but people would write me a check and mail it to me.
Oh,
and so I'd have to check the mailbox. I'd get checks, then I'd have to take them to the bank because we didn't have these online platforms of all kinds of energy exchange,
Yeah.
And then scheduling, they would text me, but texting was very wonky, or email. I mean, I think back and wow. And now I can have, a whole group, there's hundreds of us on a Zoom video, and we're right there live working together, talking with people all over the planet in real time is just mind blowing to me. So,
Yes. Imagine
yes,
all the
it's
time
beautiful.
that we save, but yet we feel
I know.
like
Yeah.
we don't have any time. But can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Right.
Just imagine for a second, like that tomorrow was going to be a day like
Mm-hmm.
that 20 years ago or whatever, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were going to wake up in the morning and that's how you're, that's the life that you would move through in that day. Can you imagine? I think if that happened to me, I would be a basket case by the end of the day
Yeah.
because aren't we just, we're used to this faster pace and we're going to click and we're going to get it and this and that and the next. But
Um,
imagine going out to the mailbox and you have the check and then you have to figure out, well, am I going to drive to the bank today? And then when you get to the bank, after you drive your gas guzzler car or whatever,
yes.
then you have to stand in line. Remember those
I
days? Oh my
do.
gosh. I haven't thought about that in forever.
I
So,
haven't been inside a bank and I don't know.
yeah, do they
Yeah.
still have those?
I know. I
I mean,
wonder.
brick and mortar bank. I
Yes.
mean, I'm sure they do, but yeah,
Yeah.
I just am being
No.
silly, but
Isn't that
um
funny?
wow.
I know. It's
So
all different.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I before we go, Tara,
Yeah.
I want to check in with you because
Mm-hmm.
what's been on your mind lately? You know, what's been bubbling up to the surface for you that you want
Yeah.
people to think about or know about or anything at all? What would you like to convey?
Hmm. I think the what I keep hearing over and over from my guides, and it seems to be a theme in a lot of sessions, and when I'm writing my newsletter, is a lot of what we talked about, the community, authentic community, and find, you don't have to find yours, just open to some, and recognize and let go of the old ones, let go of those old dragging responsibilities or old groups that just don't fit anymore because you're there out of obligation, and really focus your energy on raising your own energy and being responsible for it. And what can you do each day, each moment to, doesn't have to be bright, happy joy, but just bring tranquility, balance. And then that'll lead to a little more happiness and then joy. But really, where are you putting your energy? Like we were talking about, what are you focusing towards? And I think that's such an important part, not just for our own well-being, because we are responsible for our own frequency, our own life, but also what are you sending out, right? That focus, like we said, there's a zillion places demanding it, but where are you choosing to put it? And I think that is a key factor in how we build this new reality and this new paradigm, is we model that for each other and we support each other in it. And we really actively look for ways to continue to develop that authentic relationship that really means something. Whether, to me, this is in person, getting to talk to you like this,
Mhm.
Um, and so it can be that way. It can be out at the dog park. It doesn't matter. That where are you sending your energy and infusing your light? I actually started a thing because I was feeling this, just feeling a little dragged down, and like it was too much work to stay happy. Sometimes it was too much work to keep that frequency up, and um, I'd rather just, dive into my Netflix or whatever, which usually is, some drama. It's not all that a happy ending, but that's it. But I just kind of got this call that from my guides. They're like, you need to create your own happy. Create the place. I don't know what to do with that. So I was like, well, I got other things we're doing. Hang on, put that on the side. And I started writing my newsletter for a couple of weeks ago, updating on the eclipse. And before you know it, I'm creating this thing called the Light Workers Loom, and it's my joyful place. And so instead of doom scrolling, you can scroll happy light workers and see what they're doing. It's a place for people to just join their submit what they're doing, how they're sharing light, whether it's professionally or playfully or artistically, it doesn't matter. But just, putting it all on there, and it's like a quilt on the big screen on your phone. It's just a scroll, but it's just a neat place to see what other people are doing and how to shine light and, I don't know, connecting us energetically. So that's
Oh,
been my big
nice.
piece. So I
Yeah,
took
that's
action.
beautiful. Yeah,
That was my
action,
action.
fire horse, fire
There you go.
horse. There you go.
That's
Yes.
right.
I love that too,
So,
because it's a place to go and find, I think sometimes we can get down because we know we might be trying really hard, and it can be so challenging, and we might feel alone or like, oh, but to see what other people are doing and they're doing it, they're taking action, that can be so hopeful. So yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful, Tera. And they can find that Lightworkers Loom, also your classes, your events, your meditation, sign up for your newsletter, I'm guessing, and so much more.
And so much more. Yeah.
Yeah, on your website, right?
Yep. On the website, elevatedenergies.biz. Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
all there, and my email's there if they want to reach out. I'm try to, whatever I can do to help shine the light and help others shine their light. So,
well, it's been a beautiful time to catch up with you, Tera. I haven't talked to you in a while, so thanks for coming on and sharing and helping us navigate here. And wow, exciting times.
It is. Thank you for having me. This is such a delight to get to chat with you and share, and it's so affirming that all that we're doing really is just such a beautiful new reality we're creating. So thank you, Miss.
Oh, and thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Keep trusting your truth, keep listening to your inner wisdom, and keep following what resonates. To sign up for the newsletter, leave a review, or connect, visit whatresonatspodcast.com. You'll also find everything linked in the show notes.